Hi there, my name is Kenna Willingham, and I am a retired assistant principal, and I thought I would just make some videos since I am retired. The reason I'm retired is that I have multiple sclerosis, and multiple sclerosis does weird things to everybody. Everybody's different, but I have to take a whole bunch of medicine to help me deal with my multiple sclerosis, and it makes me sleepy. And there's all these rules when you work in a school that you cannot be sleepy and supervise children. So I had to retire, kind of disability sort of thing. And I love my job and I love working, and it is not my desire to be at home. So I thought maybe I could start making videos that might help some of you. So this first video, I thought I would just introduce myself. And again, my name's Kenna Willingham. I am in North Carolina. I was a teacher and an assistant principal. I've been in education for about 15 years. And it is the job that I was meant to do. It was what I was born to do. And so maybe I can help you with these silly videos. But this first video, I thought I would just introduce myself. My first teaching job, just, you have to have a sense of humor. I was a military spouse. Our first duty station was in Oahu, Hawaii, and I was trying to get my first teaching job. I was desperate to do anything. And so the first thing that I did was I volunteered. I actually worked as a teacher's assistant. I really wasn't a volunteer. I don't know where that came from. I was a volunteer at a school in Oahu on Schofield Barracks. It was an interesting position, and you're all excited when you get your first teaching job, and so I was totally over the top. And I've developed this bad habit of saying so if keeps coming out of my mouth, I'm really sorry. I know it is very annoying. And I've also noticed that as people in general, we say the word so quite a bit. So those are two words that I will use a lot, and I apologize. I'm like resisting the urge to say right now. But anyway, so see, there we go. My first gig was at a middle school as a teacher's assistant, and I was there to save the world. So I go and I'm walking up the stairs to my classroom, and a young man is running around and he uses the F word. I like, young man, what are you doing? You cannot use that word. I drag him to the principal's office. The principal is like, don't say that word. And then he sends him back to class. And I, trot off to my classroom like I have just saved the world. So that was just for a few weeks because the school year was about to end. So it's, Hawaii. I'm desperately looking for a job, and school had already started for the next school. The next school year comes around, and I was desperately looking for something, and I was so sad that the school year had started and I didn't have a job yet. So I got a phone call in my next video I'm going to make, it's going to talk about interviewing. But for this video, I'm just telling you about myself. So my first real teaching job was a part-time teaching position that was also supplemented as a TA in the afternoon. So morning teacher, the next part of my salary was supplemented with a part-time teacher. But I was a teacher the whole day. So I get a phone call from these people, and it is a alternative school, which I don't care if it's an alternative school. I'm just excited for the opportunity to work somewhere. I get the phone call, I go for the interview, they show me around the alternative school, and they just happen to point down the hill to what they say is the youth correctional facility. But other than that, they don't really talk about it. So I go for my interview, I go home. I'm like all excited. I can't wait for the people to call me back. They call me back a few days later, and they're like, are you really sure you want to work here? And I'm like, absolutely. And they asked me that 2 or 3 times. And, it's not registering with me that should be a signal that maybe something is a little out of whack. But anyway, I'm like, absolutely, I can't wait to work. I would be teaching math and science. to children or middle schoolers or high schoolers. So I go to work my first day, and they are, I'm all excited. Where's my classroom? And they're like, oh, no. Your classroom's not up here. It is down there at the jail, the youth correctional facility. And so I'm like, woo. And I go down there, and it is like legit a jail for youth, for boys, middle grades, 7 through 12, for kids that are in jail for various reasons, from truancy to selling drugs to attempted murder. Like, it's a jail. Like, when you walk in, you know how you see on TV that goes, and it buzzes you through the doors. I know that's very annoying. People in my family, when I make that, sound, when I tell the story, they're like, can you please not do that anymore? But anyway, it's a jail. It's a real jail. And how it worked is that one day we were in their cells. One day we were in my classroom. Well, what was considered my classroom. And the next day we were at technical education. So imagine technical education, from welding to screen printing to carpentry and construction, with kids who were in trouble, and you had to count all the materials to make sure they weren't hiding anything or using anything. Because kids in a jail institutional setting could think of some bad things to do. But in any case, in my classrooms, no staplers, no pens, they couldn't use ink pens. Pencils, we had to count them. Even crayons, they could think of bad things to do. So we had to count everything, especially when they were at technical education. But in any case, I show up my first day. I'm so excited. I go in there, and again, I'm going to save the world, use all my strategies that I've learned in college. And they're like, and I'm a math and science teacher, and I go in, and they're like, oh, by the way, you're going to be teaching social studies. Which, do I know anything about social studies? No. But, your first job, you're excited. You'll do whatever you can to be successful. So I'm like, sure, I'll teach social studies. I'm totally freaking out. And like, what am I going to do? And then a few minutes later, they come back and they're like, oh, we're sorry. You're going to be teaching 7th through 12th grade math. And I'm like, okay, thank goodness. Then I'm getting all situated, and they don't even have a space for me to sit, nor 2 other people that are new. They don't have a space for us to sit. So we have to clean out a closet, literally a closet, and we put some tables in there, and the 3 of us that are new, we use that closet as our office, and we did the whole school year, which, we were excited to have the opportunity to teach, so we didn't care. So then I go into my classroom for my first day, and all the strategies you learn to help kids that are struggling, like if they're can't pay attention and can't sit still, you give them tasks to do to help you, and it was going to be so successful. So I go they were in our classrooms that day. The kids are all in there, the 7th through 12th graders, and the guards are in there, and I'm just getting ready to have an amazing first day, and I'm just going to change the lives of these kids. And so I go in, a kid is struggling. I can't wait to use my strategies. And so the young man that was struggling, I'm like, come over here, sweetheart, and honey, it's just how I talk. Come over here, sweetheart, and you can help me out a little bit. It's my strategy. It's going to help him. So the young man totally freaks out, throws the table across the room where I'm standing, rips his shirt off like Hulk Hogan, which, he didn't look like Hulk Hogan, and cussing and screaming and yelling, and the guards have to come get him and take him away. Now, when they taught me this strategy in school, in college, do you think they ever mentioned that anything like this would be happening or response? No, they didn't. So it was quite an interesting response, and I had to make a note to self in this environment. Maybe I'll have to think of another strategy. I will say that the cool thing about my job working in the youth correctional facility is I did have the opportunity to work with some young men and maybe make somewhat of a difference in their life, which was awesome because that's why I went into education. The coolest thing about my job was, and this is before I had MS, before I was in this wheelchair, is at the last part of the day, we got to play basketball. And a little bit about me is I grew up kind of living on the rough side of things sometimes. And so I played street ball very well, which is not what young men in a youth correctional facility would think of somebody that looked and talked and walked and acted like me. So it was really cool that I got to play basketball with these young men, and I could hang with them, so to speak. And so I could earn their respect that way too. So it was a really cool first job. It was an exciting way to, very exciting and intense way to learn about what is important in the classroom and classroom management, because just we'll go into more of that maybe my next couple videos. But it was awesome. It made me love education even more. And so things are crazy in education sometimes, and it's not always what you think it would be based on what you learned in college about being an educator. But this is my first video. Wanted to introduce myself to you. I can't wait to share more about it and maybe help you or make a difference if you're struggling in some way. I'm sorry if I'm looking the wrong direction because these cameras are so crazy, and I'm sorry like if I'm making you sick from my camera stuff, but I'm holding the camera myself, and I'm not really an expert. I hope I got the right angle. You know how you have to get the right angle to, make everything look great. But thank you so much for listening, and I hope you are having an amazing Sunday, and I can't wait to share with you, and my goal is maybe it can give you some insight and help you a little bit if you're struggling, or maybe just cheap entertainment as well. But have a great night, and thank you so much for listening.